I was very much looking forward to the Sweet Life movie. It is my mission to watch every single Disney feature film, and I've reached this one chronologically, and I was a little nervous because I did watch The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, but not extensively. I have by no means seen all of the show, so I wasn't sure how much of this I'd follow, and certainly I've never seen this film before. But actually, it was pretty easy to follow. It did take me a little bit of time to catch up with things, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. But in general, if you're coming from the same position as I am, where you've had some experience with the characters, but you're not somebody who grew up with a show, you haven't seen all of it, I'd say it's still worth watching. This was released in 2011. It's directed by Sean McNamara, written by Michael Saltzman and Robert Horn, with a cast including Cole Sprouse, Dylan Sprouse, Brenda Song, Debbie Ryan, and various others. And Zack and Cody are on the SS Tipton, and eventually, it probably took about half an hour to establish the main narrative, maybe a little bit under that. But the main narrative involves them taking part in the Gemini Project, which is a twin study. But they might be in danger. It may not be a safe study, and people may need to try and come to their rescue before it's too late. I'll say no more than that. It is an interesting enough concept. It's maybe not the most exciting story, but I guess it does have an interesting look at twins and connections and Zack and Cody's relationship, which in itself is quite interesting. So it's easy to follow as a casual viewer. But as I said, it did take me a bit of time to catch up with where they were in their life. I guess I did a tiny bit of Googling to work out where this came after The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody and where it fits in with The Sweet Life on Deck in terms of the timeline. So it did take me a minute or two to get caught up, but as long as you have internet access, which if you're watching this on Disney Plus, presumably you will, it's pretty easy to catch up with things if, like me, your knowledge, or I guess memory, is not that great. So, not too bad. Obviously, you'll have a very different experience if you grew up with the show, if you've seen most or all of the show, then I think you'll still really enjoy it. I still don't think the narrative itself is maybe that exciting, but the characters are great, the performances are great. I really enjoyed spending time with them and getting to know them a bit more than perhaps I did before this. So I don't really have any complaints. I thought it was a decent story, well executed. It was a little slow to begin with, but actually I kind of appreciated that because of my position, because I needed a bit of time to catch up with where we were. But judging it a bit more objectively, I do think the pacing could have been better to begin with, but obviously personally I kind of appreciated the slower start. Other than that though, I'd say it's well written, the characters are of course well written, visually it's very good, with some great set designs, good camera work and lighting, a really decent colour palette. It also has a good use of music, and it did kind of make me want to go back and watch the series and see how much I could remember. I honestly don't know how much of it I've seen, I just know I haven't seen all of it, so maybe one day I will. Definitely, if you have the similar perspective as me, I'd say give this a go. You'll be able to follow it. It's certainly an interesting film. I'd love to know what you think of it. If you're a big Zack and Cody fan, if you grew up watching a lot of The Sweet Life, does this meet your expectations? Do you think it's a good continuation of their story? I'd love to know what you think either way. And certainly, I'm happy enough to recommend it if, like me, you don't remember too much about the show. If you've never seen the show, you could absolutely watch it. I think you'd be able to follow it. All you need to know is that it's about twins, Zack and Cody taking part in a twin study. You don't need a tremendous amount of background information, but there are things that you might appreciate more if you have some relationship with the characters. For example, I think London Tipton, is quite an interesting character. I think maybe she can be a bit annoying. At least I think she probably could be annoying with your first experience of her. But if you spent a lot of time with her and got to know the character, then it's not so much the case. So I think the experience will be different depending on where you're coming from. But either way, The Sweet Life movie is a decent film and I'm happy to recommend it.